Some businesses succeed, some don't. Then there are those that seem to have been around forever. The true entrepreneurial success story. How did they do it? What was their vision? What makes a success? In this special episode for Eye on Annapolis, we speak with the true success stories, those business owners that have been around for decades, learn from their successes and failures. Now, here's host John Fernay.
We're here in one of the most cool places around. We're down at the Annapolis Yacht Haven?
Yep, you got it.
And we're with Ron Szpatura, who is the founder, chairman, top dog at Landmarks Marketing. And if you were ever in a hotel in Annapolis or pretty much the region, you probably saw their books and you're familiar with them. They're in the hotel, most hotels, where you would see what's going on in Annapolis and various different markets around. We ran into each other a couple of years ago, and you were telling me that you were celebrating, your 25th year, and that you're beyond that at this point. You're now into your 31st year.
Correct.
Which is just incredible to me. And this is a perfect example of somebody that we'd want to talk to find out what Landmarks is, how did it come about, and where's it going? Because as we've talked before, you've seen some change.
Oh, my God, yes. And I think everybody in business has. I mean, last 25 years. And I guess the reality is we're going to see a lot more change in the next 4 to 5 years than we have in the past 5 years.
Well, everything has changed so quickly. I mean, you sit there and you look at what we do on our cell phones, and who would have thought 15 years ago that was even a realm of possibility. I remember finding some carbon paper in one of my old offices, and my kids thought I discovered T-Rex. It was, it's like, oh my gosh, you can write on it and it makes it twice.
It's like the Jetsons, right?
But yeah, well. Where did Landmarks start? How did you get? Are you a native to Annapolis?
No, born in Baltimore. Went to school in Charlottesville, UVA. But had a company. I got the entrepreneurial bug when I was in school. Seemed to work best in a result-oriented environment versus a bureaucracy. So I, took the entrepreneurial trail. And a friend of mine in Baltimore asked me to partner with him when he was doing these beautiful 8.5 by 11 maps that were distributed through realtors in the area. And we work with Alexandria Drafting Company, who, it's a 7-Eleven, you got those big maps.
The big map books that are no longer relevant.
That's right. Well, this was when we started putting this or providing realtors with the map to put in their relocation package, the oversized map didn't fit. So we would order 10,000 at a time of customized, reduced this size, and then generate revenue through advertising to hardware stores.
Local area is the perfect thing for somebody new moving into an area. Now Correct. I know how to get there and where to go.
Correct. So, because the relocation market is a valuable market, but traditional or other ways to reach people, often Welcome Wagon would get there 3 weeks after you've already moved. Right. And you've already spent thousands of dollars at the hardware store. You decided which bank you're going to use. Whereas when you would get this through Long and Foster, it would be while you're in the process.
At the closing table, and you walk home with it, right. and you've got it there, or earlier.
And that's what brought me to Annapolis. This was part of the area we were doing, work with the Chamber of Commerce. And what happened with this is that our supplier, Alexandria Drafting, noticed every community we went into, they noticed a serious decrease in retail sales. So they kept making it more difficult for us to buy from them because we were eating into their retail market.
Okay.
So our price kept going up, and it made the numbers hard to work. So when I came here, I met with a gentleman by the name of Herman Cheeky, who was with the Chamber of Commerce. And he approached me at one of the cocktail parties, and he said, Ron, we are looking to build tourism in Annapolis. And last year we got some funding from the state, but it went in the Chamber of Commerce budget, and nobody knows what happened to it. It went in the general fund.
Welcome to Annapolis.
Yeah, so they said we're looking to get some more money, but they said we have to form our own organization, and it has to be solely dedicated to that, not the chamber. So he said, would you help me start a visitors bureau? And I said, well, great. What would you like me to do? I'm new to the area. It's a great way to meet people. He said, well, would you mind going out and recruiting the first 100 members? And I said, well, okay. It's a good way to get in the door and talk to people. So we started the Annapolis Visitors Bureau, which is now huge organization. When I worked with the Visitors Bureau, the majority of the people involved and on the board were hotel managers. And they said, well, Ron, when people come here, the only thing we have to orient them to the area are the magazines and the newspaper, and they come and they go, and it's hard to keep them in the room. Why don't you produce something, a high-quality product that we could put in the rooms that would stay in the rooms?
Now, this was 30 years ago.
It's 1988.
So were these books, and I see where you're going with it, but were these books a thing in hotels other places?
Yeah, they were.
Okay,
yeah.
So this isn't a brand new concept.
No, because at that time, if you went to Baltimore, Washington, Philadelphia,
the major markets.
Yeah, there was a company called Guest Informant that was publishing this in the major 31 top cities in the U.S., but Annapolis was small potatoes. They weren't interested in the second-tier markets.
Just right for picking.
Yeah. So we got contracts from all the hotels. We were the exclusive publication to be placed in the rooms, and we published the very first landmarks of the Annapolis back in '88, which looked like this. And then after the first year, 6-7 months later, I went around and talked to people, and about 100% of the people said, yeah, this has been great. Let's do it again, which is kind of a salesman's dream.
I'm here to collect my check.
Right. That in media that you can renew that higher percentage. So well, gosh, where else could I do this? And I went to my alma mater in Charlottesville, and then we went to Ocean City, and then Virginia Beach, and I think we wound up in about 11 or 12 cities and grew.
And these are regional sub-markets of Baltimore and D.C.
Well, they're proximate to this area, so I could get in the car and be in Charlottesville in 2.5 hours, so I could work with a rep. But we hired an independent representative in each of those communities.
But this is a market that has hotels, that has a need for visitors, that has been ignored by, for lack of a better word, the big guy that was putting them in the 22 major markets. It's an ideal place.
Right. Yeah, and then the proximate Lake Virginia Beach, and we were kind of surprised that most of those areas, Richmond, didn't have a product like this.
Considering that they're so tourist-centric, you would think so.
Right.
So these were in the hotel rooms all the time from the 80s?
88 on, yeah. They would, again, it was an annual publication. We built a multi-million-dollar business with, I think we had 12 sales reps, and life was good.
And then what happened?
And then I remember I got a call, it was 8-9 years ago, from our rep who was in Rehoboth, and she said, I just went to see 21 of our clients to renew for the upcoming beach season, and they all said they're not sure they're going to be in business in the spring because of the economy, and they were more concerned about paying the electric bill.
And the rent.
And it was essential, and a lot of them also said we're going to move our money into digital marketing. And he said, what does that mean? They said, we don't know. We just know we need to move in the direction of digital. And so the dollar, two things, the dollar shifted and the direction of, and then the economy, was working against us.
Yeah, so, so these guys are shifting what little dollars they have into digital, which is obviously a little bit less expensive. Actually, it's a lot less expensive.
And measurable.
Yeah, without a doubt. So you adjusted to that.
It took too long, to find another solution. That's where we had to let like 10, 12 people go. And, it was a financial challenge for a number of years, 2-3 years, as things kept going down. And then we found out that there were companies in the industry that had developed the latest technology that you could use in advertising, technology that would allow us to identify what people are regularly going out to eat and the IPs or of those individuals, and then also deliver ads to those people on the fastest growing media in history, the telephone, through digital advertising on websites. Because the programmatic changes, and most people we talk to have never heard of programmatic, but what it is where, compare it to if you were to buy stock, you wouldn't call Microsoft and say, I want 10,000 shares. You go to the exchange.
The broker or wherever.
Now there's exchanges for digital advertising on all these websites. So weather.com, fox.com, and all these sites have available space that you can purchase through the exchange in multiples. So we might say, okay, well, John's Restaurant wants to get 10,000 market impressions today in Annapolis. What's available today on the exchange where we could place his ad?
Okay. So when you say that you're advertising on the smartphones and whatnot, this is on different websites that I might go to on my smartphones that obviously do accept advertising and have places that are participating in the exchange. So there's no way you're not directly marketing to a cell phone per se. I mean, I'm not all of a sudden getting a beep on my phone going, oh look, hey, eat at Frankie's at noon,
right?
Which is probably coming.
Yeah, and it's also cross-platform. Because you might see it on your cell phone, you might see it on your
laptop.
On your laptop, and the emerging trend is you're going to see it more and more on your television for the streaming video.
Makes all the perfect sense. Everything's going there. I'm about ready to cut the cord myself and get rid of the phone and the landline and the cable TV and just go with something that streams at this point. You guys also have Landmark's Great Deals. What's up with that? Or
that was.
Did you say was? Or is that
we still do some of it, but that was again our local version of Groupon, which Groupon did well and Living Social did well, and we were a local edition. We were able to sit down and customize programs and reach the local market, but the concept is not as people were led to believe that people would use the discount and then come in and pay full price. Usually people that used it would find another discount offer to use. And they were, discount shoppers. So the restaurants weren't overly pleased as they really analyzed what they were getting for their discount. Now, some still use it, and we still have clients that use it when we have an excess of inventory, or if there's a point in time like January, February, March, where you're willing to give away.
You need the business
discounts. And
I had a restaurateur in town one time tell me that you get the right night in February and you agree to eat in my restaurant, I'll buy your meal. And if you sit in the window and smile and look like you're enjoying it, I'll even buy your booze.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's a market for the Groupon model. And again, if you're a new business and looking just to get people to introduce you, I think that's a perfectly acceptable. But again, I've never been a big proponent of discounts per se. Mm-hmm. And why can't my product as a merchant or a retailer stand on its own? Why do I need to do that? And we see this all the time. It's like, hey, the Military Bowl is coming in town, so give a 20% discount to the Military Bowl people and this and that.
Well, there's the interesting thing, though, when you look at the discount market is there's a segment of market, and a smart business will often try and capture both. So if you look at Tommy Bahama, for example, you and I can go to Nordstrom and buy a Tommy Bahama shirt for $100, $150, and where we can drive across the bridge and go to the discount shopping center and get what looks like the same shirt to me, for $50.
Right.
So there is the discount buyer, and there is the guy that will go to Nordstrom and is not price conscious.
It's a strange dynamic there. Where's Landmark's going now at this point? I mean, you've grown up, and I love that your corporate saying or your mantra is to be a victim. You can be a victim of change or an agent of change,
right?
And I think that's, you probably really exemplify that more than anybody that I've spoken with. In that you rode this great wave with this print thing that was in all the hotels. There were. You just walk up every year and you collect the renewal checks and to, hey, we got like 80% of our people that are like bailing. Mm-hmm. Right. And you had to have that oh shit moment, the come to Jesus, whatever you want to call it, to reinvent yourself. And you've been persistent, and you've been successful, and you've been able to do it. The one thing I've admired about Landmarks is over the years is that you've never been really afraid to try something, and obviously you measure it. I mean, if it's a dog, you don't you don't keep it,
right?
But you're willing to try something. You're willing to look at something and move on there, and I think that's evidence of what you've got now. Where does the future look for Landmarks?
Well, we appreciate the question. What we first of all, when going back to when we've moved into this product arena, realizing that I could bring to the average business owner, there's 39 million local business owners in the United States, and it's 60% of the jobs. So these people are very important, and I have a lot of admiration for anybody like yourself and other people that, we're not asking for unemployment. We're not out there begging for money. We're trying to find a way to provide a service that has value and get paid fairly for it.
Sure.
And the local business owner, like Federal House and O'Leary's and all the people we work with, these guys are running $5 to $10 million businesses, but they got to open up. They got to make sure the employees are there. They got a lot of work to do to keep running a restaurant and stay on top of things. So they really don't have the time to get a PhD or a master's in marketing and read all the magazines and the trends and the changes. And so when we first started talking to people about what we could provide them with based on this new technology, first couple of meetings I had, I could see the deer in the headlight looks. People say, well, what do you mean clicks? Conversions? What's a conversion?
Right.
And I thought, well, geez, I got to really dummy down this presentation so we can do an educational process of what really is digital marketing. What are the basic components? Please understand it first. Then you can make the investment. Understand what a market impression is. This is a market impression.
Yep.
But, if you want to go to this salon or get more information, try clicking on this ad.
Sure, on the back of the book.
But if you saw it on your cell phone, you could say, oh, that's right. I was thinking of getting my wife or my girlfriend
a massage or whatever.
Yeah, oh, good, there's a gift card. Boom. 30 seconds, you're done. So, but see, this technology is now available and has been available. But if you're Ford and you commit to $100,000 a month spend, then you can buy from some of these companies. So most of them have this technology, but they're after the big dogs, not the local business owner.
Sure, they're after Toyotas and the...
Right. So the future for us is that we can, get in the door easier when we're talking about the latest technology versus print or radio or things that everybody thinks they totally understand. So it's easier for us to get meetings and easier for us to have our salespeople. We've added 10 salespeople in less than a year, and it's easier to get in. They can call people. You have a gentleman in Northern Virginia that's been very successful career in radio, 20 years in radio. Used to do the Redskins radio, Monday night steakhouse stuff. And he called up, does 10 or 20 restaurants he worked with, has 20 clients in less than 6 months, brings in $250,000 because A, he has access, he can get in, and B, has a better product. And then thirdly, once we deliver the service and we go through the reports, they can actually see how many people walked in their restaurant that actually saw a digital ad. So the ability for us to build a sales team, my goal this year is in 2020 is to hire 100 salespeople, which would be...
That's a lofty goal.
But I like lofty goals. So we're now looking at recruiting in Miami. We're working with a good friend who's adjunct professor at Miami. They have relationships with the business community. We'll fine-tune our business plan.
Well, so you say you're recruiting in Miami. Are you looking to get into that Miami market?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then that's not a market is not saturated in this type of a thing?
Nope.
You looking to buy a condo down there and get out of the winter?
Well, that's another podcast. I think real estate values. I'd be reluctant to buy anything within the next year or two. So the future is really exciting because the attraction. Like we talk to people. I talk to people. Have a young lady with us that I called off of Indeed a while back and asked her how she was enjoying selling print these days. And she was a long, pregnant pause. She says, "What are you nuts? It's getting harder and harder every day." So people like myself that used to sell print, people that sell traditional marketing, are finding that technology is bringing better product/service into the market. Radio's 120 years old, newspapers 150 years old. Not a lot of changes in technology. So this technology is really changing advertising forever.
Well, it really has. The ability to be able to measure, and that's one thing that I've said with Eye on Annapolis, and as opposed to just a print publication, is I can tell you how many newspapers or magazines I've printed. I can tell you how many I put out on the stands or thrown in driveways, and that's where it ends.
That's right.
Did I have time to read that paper today, or did it just go into the recycling bin? And there is no way to do that. Obviously you can't rely on a a clerk or a hostess at a restaurant and,
Right.
to say, where did you find it? And the customer to reliably remember where
Right.
it was. If you would ask me how I discovered, the Smokehouse or O'Brien's or whatever it may be,
Right.
I have no idea.
Right.
At this point, other,
Right. Right.
works for me.
Right. So what technology will change and is changing is both the targeting and the delivery of advertising. So now our supplier just introduced a new product that enables us to identify women in certain zip codes, what women ride motorcycles and smoke cigars and are earning over $100,000 a year. So we can drill down on 500 different demographic aspects and identify and deliver to an incredibly precise market.
And on this exchange that you speak about, okay, like if you're looking to drill down to that level, and without getting overly technical, I'm going to try to see if I can kind of explain, and I don't even know whether I am, but you've got your IP address, which is a unique address to your phone or your computer or whatever it is. And just in your world of surfing, whatever the websites you want to surf, and we're not going to go there, but that's, these companies are collecting little nuggets of information. Okay, I went to Harley Davidson 5 times in the last week, and I went to the cigar shop 3 times on the website, and I ordered a cigar cutter at Amazon.
Right.
Okay, so we can make some assumptions about me at this point.
Right.
They're taking that little data, selling it, providing it to somebody else.
Correct.
That says, okay, now who wants cigar smoking, motorcycle riding women that live in Annapolis?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now all of a sudden, instead of saying I've got 1,000 people, I've got 3. Mm-hmm. Here they are, Ron. Would you
target those people?
Would you like to target these people? And is that in a real dumbed down way of doing it?
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it. And so we've got those people. Now we're going to programmatically send those people your ad on a variety of websites that they tend to go to on a daily basis, so that you'll be getting your information.
So you're going to see them on HarleyDavidson.com or anything motorcycle aficionado.
Right.
It's really pretty fascinating when you can get down that. And also for the advertiser, they're only paying for, you're not paying to throw the spaghetti against the wall.
Right.
You're just paying for what's sticking on the wall.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll tell people, we call and say, next time a person selling traditional advertising calls on you, tell them you only want to pay for the 10% of the people that have shown some interest in buying what you're selling, and not the other 90% that have no interest in what you're selling.
Yeah, watch that reaction.
Yeah, right. Now, the other interesting thing about that, though, is it also works better on the other end, because the recipient would rather be getting information from companies that provide products and services they're interested in versus the stuff you're not interested in.
What are your thoughts on privacy? I know I've got the Amazon Echoes at home and everything else, and I swear to God they're listening to me. My girlfriend and I were talking about some water shoes out on her deck.
Right.
And the window may have been open, but we didn't search on our phones. We didn't have a computer on. There was no computer. We just talked about these. And sure enough, on Facebook, those specific water shoes showed up as ads to me.
Well, that's a good question. And I think as a person, I understand the challenge there in privacy, and I kind of leave that to the regulators and the Fed government. But as a business person, again, you can fight change and say, we don't want this. I don't want to have a McDonald's up the street. And you can have a community, and you fight it, and you fight it, and fight it. But, McDonald's is coming whether you want it or not, right, over time. So this data, this information is available, so why not use it to my advantage as a business person versus, fight it?
I guess what I was kind of getting at is, do you see a time where people revolt against the invasion of privacy? You say that somebody enjoys first of all, I don't enjoy being marketed to as a consumer, okay? But, it's a fact of life. I'm marketed to I walk out the door here, I'm marketed by the Yacht Haven. Okay, there's a sign up there that says here, there's a place that says we've got this place for rent, and there's signs, the Exxon and everything else. I get that. Do you think as it becomes more targeted, more perceived invasive, do you think that you're up for another change down the road where consumers revolt about that and say, hey, I don't want you knowing all that about me?
Well, John, I think you said the magic word there is perceived invasive. So if everybody perceives it as being invasive, then obviously they're going to fight it. But if people see it as somewhat valuable, that, oh, great, I was interested in more information on cars and more information on the ski slopes in the area. So it's You know, and in many cases, like when you buy your TV, your OTT-CV that's streamed, you can buy it with ads or without ads. And they find that actually the people that purchase it, the higher percentage go with the ads because of the reduced price. That they would rather put up with the ads
to do it.
And pay less to watch something.
See, I'm the anomaly. I mean, every app that I buy, I'll buy a free app on the phone to play like a game or something when I'm bored, and I'll play it. If it entertains me for more than a week, I'll pay for it to get rid of the ads, and otherwise it's
right.
And my girlfriend's like, why do you just watch the video for? And I agree. I mean, I have purchased many things off of targeted advertising, and whether it's digital or that sign on the back of a bus, it's about hitting the right person. Advertising has always been about hitting the right person at the right time with the right product.
Right.
And this just really sort of takes that curve, that learning curve out of it for you.
So if you look at the positives, certainly one positive is the guy running the restaurant that budgets their advertising. The old saying was, half of my ad dollars are wasted. And they said, why don't you cut out that half?
Right.
So I don't know what you, it's all exposure, and I a lot of times I'll use the example of the Super Bowl ad with the cute little puppy that runs away and then comes back to the horses, and the cutest commercial ever. But how many people go into the bar on Monday and say, I'd like to order a bud? And the reason is because I love the commercial you guys did. Would you tell the lady in the ivory tower? But she knows that she reached 40 gazillion people creating those market impressions. So advertising used to be a relative intangible. The most positive aspect of this is, having been in sales and entrepreneurship, we all have certain passions that drive us into entrepreneurship. We know if we do what we like to do, hopefully it will generate revenue, but it's hard to push yourself to do what you don't like to do just for money. People that like to sell are in many cases on the wrong side, depending on what they're selling. They're on the wrong side of the curve. So to me, one of the most exciting things is we brought in 8 to 10 salespeople, many of which are on their way to replacing their income. So they're not going to lose their home. They might be able to still send their kids to college because now they have a product that is on the cutting edge of technology that there's a demand for, and they can educate restaurant owners and numbers of businesses about the value of this and develop a clientele. So people that have, we have 25, 30 regular clients, you're going to bring in enough money to make a 6-digit income. So it's kind of wonderful because it's having been in the same position. When you're selling a product you're not totally sold on, and you feel like you're behind the curve,
without a doubt. I mean, it's absolutely critical. With Annapolis, I will not work with anybody that I personally don't support and don't like and don't enjoy as a person. And I think that's critical, especially in sales, that you've got a good salesman can sell anything. I get that,
but he shouldn't.
But a great salesman is the one that's going to have passion for the product.
Correct. That's
going to sit there and know exactly what this does, and can sit there and say, hey, this is what it's going to do for you.
Right.
And they're going to stand by it. And I think that's a really great thing. What is the best way for people to learn more about Landmarks? Is it on your website?
Yeah, we have landmarks.digital. No .com required. Just landmarks.digital.
Oh, that's fancy.
Isn't that landmarks.digital or landmarksmarketing.com if you prefer the .com direction.
But if you're old school.
But even .com is old school. Landmarks.digital. And that's it. And we just revamped it and just put a new one up today. So,
I would say if you are a local or regional business that is looking to get into the digital realm, definitely check them out. And
someone who wants a career change.
I was going to say, it sounds like with 100 people on target, and I'm sure there's a career page on the website as well where they can get in touch and learn more about it, right?
Yeah, there is, and people are surprised that if you go to the career page and you see some of the videos we have, that people who have within 2 days have learned enough about digital to go out and properly represent it. So a major part of our training is educating people on the value of digital marketing and how to best explain it without going too deep into the weeds about the technology. Yeah, well, I think a lot of business owners fall in the same category you and I do, in the sense that, I just need to know what time it is. I don't need to know how to build a watch. So don't explain to me, how you build a watch. Just, tell me what time it is, right? Tell me what it does for me.
Without a doubt. In Landmarks Marketing, I mean, you can be the marketing arm of a business that just doesn't have the budget for it. I mean,
Correct.
Which is very similar to like an advertising agency. I mean, if you don't have you can't have an advertising department. You get an agency that can do it, and typically you find that it's a lot more cost beneficial to you.
Well, that's really a good point, because the digital aspect is not a standalone performer, for lack of a better word, because we found now with some of the people we've added that have done hundreds of websites and really no websites, when we create clicks that come to your website, if you don't come up within 5 seconds, the click isn't going to matter. So there's a lot of variables that we can now look at and do an audit on a person's website and say, okay, we'll help you with the marketing, but it's really not going to do that well, John, if everybody we send there has to wait, because after 5 seconds, 90% of the people
they're out.
So there are aspects of maximizing the return based on other variables like the quality of your website, other places to click. We've had restaurants that say, we seem to be getting a lot of traffic to our banquet page. I said, well, great, have you booked any? They said, well, how would we know? We said, well, the best way would be to put a form on your website that could be filled out that said, I am interested in a banquet. Please contact me.
Yeah.
Say, oh, okay.
That makes sense.
We'll do that. So,
it's like somebody walking up to the hostess stand and not saying, can I get you a table?
Right, exactly.
So that's hysterical. Well, Ron Szpatura, landmarksmarketing.com or landmarks.digital is the place to go to find that out. And I didn't realize they had a .digital domain thing. I know.
Neither did we.
I love seeing that you've grown. I love seeing this old first book. It looks like a elementary school yearbook with a staple in the middle of it. And
that's right.
To the fully beautiful bound one that is still seen in a couple of the hotels around. And but certainly I love the way that you've been able to evolve and roll with the punches that technology has thrown your way.
It's been brutal, but we've made the change.
And as what you say, you're either a victim of it or an agent of it, right?
Amen.
Thanks for listening to this special podcast for Annapolis. Please be sure to visit Annapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinions. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you your local news direct to your phone or tablet every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Subscribe on iTunes or Google Play.